But if I say, well, it's reasonable that that which is eternal, that which is all, has to be right here. Why would it be anywhere else? Why would it be devoid of me? So as soon as I know that, that is reason.
So where do you look for it?
You look for it in quiet, in the still small space. It says, what is it when be still and go home, or be still and rest
That's what
in
I was
me?
trying to get to. You were saying, it's here, it's within.
Mm-hmm.
As it says here, with the goal of the atonement versus the separation, the goal of these things. If I have a goal of atonement, and I want to solve the separation, the within that I have to look to is without. The within I have to look to is them. That's the extended mind where reason resides. It said it here.
Right.
Reason resides in them. I don't have it.
Well, the thing of it is that
It has to be awakened within me. It has to be wakened. And the only way it can wake up is through the atonement. And the atonement is, bing, pinball. You light up as me. You light up as me. And that's the miracle. That's the holy relationship, the holy instant. That is where reason happens.
I know, but
Reason enables me. I know, I apologize. Reason allows me to recognize that the gifts you're giving me are mine. That's where reason comes in.
Yes, and it can go, to me, it can go either way, because giving and receiving are one and the same. So I can, as, whatever, the I that I'm speaking from or whatever, in practice and everything else, it might happen that a dawning on the mind happens while you're walking in the woods. All I'm saying is that then when I do see the brother, I'll have additional affirmation that that's
Right.
true. I'm saying that my awareness awakens the awareness. It's simultaneous. So I could say that the sonship, all my brothers and sisters out there, if I say that they have to be the ones based on the way I'm thinking to reaffirm where I am, it can be that way. I can say also that for some reason, my mind awakened that day. And because, you're saying that, in a way that, how is it that the things that you seem to know within the ways of the world, others are ignorant of, but it's still within the time-space illusion. But if you bring out, I will trust in my brothers, it's possible that you'll begin to see that there are more awake than you realize. However you want to perceive those things, because my mind is going to dictate in this world what I will receive. And so long as I think my brothers are a bunch of ignoramuses that can't seem to learn something or whatever, that's all I'll see. But if as the Course says, or in other places, I don't know, it is to trust in your brothers, to trust that they are there for my, particularly once I decided that I want to know myself. They're there to help me know myself, the true self, because I've decided I want to know myself. So each time I say, I want to know the self, the one, I will then get affirmation also to either things I need to look at that are blocking a love, or affirmation that love is with me. So, there's a blocking of love, and then there's, a cry for help, which is my own cry for help, to know love, or I know love, and it reflects back. So I have those moments where I feel like I know love. Love is present. I can feel it. It's palpable. And everything seems to just be kind of light in its, general feeling. But other times where it's like, I don't feel like I know love, but teach me, because I cry out for knowing my love of what I am, this loving being. It's not just a being, it's loving presence. Then if I want to know it, then in turn, what I ask, I will receive. Because giving and receiving are one and the same. And they're one in truth. It's actually one in truth. I say one and the same, but it's one in truth in the Course. So I don't know if that says anything different than what you're saying. Is it contradictory to what you're
No.
doing?
I mean, I think that it's the usual thing that we run into. And I suppose my viewpoint on it, number one, I want to point out that it's no longer, I mean, maybe some years back I would have thought that I had whatever discretionary knowledge, or I was privy to certain things that my brethren were not. And I will say that there are certain phenomena that I look at that I feel like I've got a better take on what's actually going on, of course, and you that know me would probably be, you've been on the blunt end of that conversation. But honestly, I know that that's a glitch or a twitch in my personality of browbeating people with my insight. Okay, and I don't think that the insight is there. I've had enough proofs that I've messed up and I don't know, But what I do think that I understand in this situation is that we don't know. I do feel that I know that we don't know.
Right.
And that's the disturbing thing. And so what I'm saying, relative to what you're saying, the pure, unadulterated genius of A Course in Miracles is that it's a radical inversal or reversal of our way of knowing who we are, of finding peace and joy. Now, let's say I'm a good Christian and I go out and say, peace, love, and joy is in service to my brothers. And I go out and I make myself available, and I do the corporal works of mercy or whatever, and I run around the world doing good deeds like that. Well, I'm still a center point of all that action. I'm a center point. So I haven't really solved what I still haven't. I'm still not participating in A Course in Miracles. If I run around becoming an activist or sort of a, what's her name, that nurse that ministered to people in the war, what's her name, Florence Nightingale. So let's say I go through my process and I become Florence Nightingale, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, whatever. I still could be very, very much located within myself, just going through a world of objects, except I'm doing quote-unquote good deeds instead of exerting harm. That's great. I think that's really great. And I'm not, it's just that I don't think the Course has anything to do with that whatsoever.
Well, the thing of it is that, like St. Francis, who was told to rebuild his church.
Right.
And because he heard it in a way that made it feel like this is a voice for God, I need to rebuild the church. He actually thought it was to rebuild stone by stone, and began to build things stone by stone. In the process of building things stone by stone, he learned more and more, but just through attempting to follow that voice that he heard, the voice for God. It ends up being a whole movement instead of just a building. The building was a process. So all I'm saying is that...
Now, do you think he was wrong? Do you think be honest, do you think he was wrong? Do you think he misinterpreted?
Yes. I mean, I think that when we hear those things, we proceed, particularly if it feels like it just hits you like a wave. You proceed in fulfilling because it feels like an urgency to do so. There was a whole bunch of hillside small churches and throughout Italy at that time that had fallen into disrepair, were falling down. And in fact, I think it was a statue that was still standing of Jesus, and maybe it was on the cross or whatever, that spoke to him. It was like a ruin. And so if you hear in a ruin, rebuild my church, there's going to be a sense like, okay, well, I'll start. I don't know what that all means, but it ends up being that. Instead, he writes a bunch of things. Because his willingness to follow the voice. He was given more and more insight as he went along. So sometimes, being what we are, as only half awake, that we attempt to do what we know to do. If you hear, you must feed the hungry, does it mean feed the hungry through spiritual corporal works? Or does it mean feed the hungry physically? But if I hear feed the hungry, I'm probably going to go to the nearest shelter and start feeding the hungry. Right. Now, in the process of going through that, I may learn a lot about myself and my brethren, who I have placed judgment on that I have no place to do that. So all of it, once I am willing, the Holy Spirit hears my willingness, that little willingness, and that is the opening to work with us. So I don't think that it matters what we do in the world. It matters that I have a little willingness to know my brothers as myself and to know myself. So, because both are the same. So, in other words, you really can't go wrong in what you do here. It's not wrong to, build huge skyrise buildings. It's not wrong to decide to be very simple and a pauper. What matters is your willingness to hear the truth. And do you want the truth? Or do you just want fame and fortune? Or do you want to be the humble person who you can say, well, I don't need any of that, and so I just live this simple life, which is just another type of identity. One's a largesse and one's humble and small. So they're not really better or worse. It's just, where can the Holy Spirit reach you? And if it can reach you while you're building high-rise buildings, then so be it. And if it will reach you while you're doing your humble works of mercy, then so be it. I don't think it matters. So God's plan for your salvation could not have been established without your will and your consent. Is that where we are, or did we just read that?
We just finished paragraph 5.
Okay, yeah. God's plan for salvation could not have been established without your will and consent. It must have been accepted by the Son of God for what God wills for him to receive. Because for God wills not apart from him. Nor does the will of God wait upon time to be accomplished. So again, it's recognizing that my true will as a son of God is the same as God's will. And will I receive what that means to be one with the will of God? I don't know. Well,
this is part of what I'm trying to say, and I've said it so many different ways. Back to the unadulterated genius of A Course in Miracles is that it reverses the usual. I am obviously Phil Hamilton. I am the locus, the central locus. I am the axis mundi of my world, and it rotates around me. Mm-hmm. You rotate around me. The microphones rotate around me. The cup, everything. Even Russia, Putin, everybody rotates around Phil Hamilton, everything, because I'm the one that's aware of it. Mm-hmm. It's just what happens. I care, it's like, well, yeah, he bombed Japan. Thank God it wasn't me, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's me and my central focus of, as long as my sweet butt is comfortable, I am, happy in my central axis. And if something attacks where my sweet butt resides, suddenly I feel like, danger, the mm-hmm. world isn't working correctly. So you can see, I'm the center of that. The Course, the whole goal of this is to undo that dynamic, mm-hmm. whether it has to do with me sitting on a cushion meditating, me having insights, me pursuing holy deeds, me creating healing and wholeness in society or with my brothers. It's reversing this mm-hmm. to where I no longer trust my perceptions and my judgments about what needs those actions and those ministrations from this axis mundi, which can be so easily knocked off its kilter miss a couple of meals, man, and the axis mundi is
Yeah.
at risk.
Right.
So this is no axis mundi to depend on. There's nothing that can be judged. There's no reason here.
Yeah.
Reason. There's no gift of reason here.
Yeah.
And it's saying the learning, the curriculum, is to get to where the presence, the awareness of the world at large and the way it appears to me through unwanted barking dogs, through railroad tracks, through wood floors that need refinishing, through a wife, through a conflict of interests. These are all echoes of the voice for God as they're coming at me, and they're trying to make it into my thick head. And reason can only do one thing and say, I am connected to this world. And so this world is not out there for me to fix. I'm not supposed to insulate against the railroad tracks of the dog. I'm not supposed to fix my brethren. This world is coming at me to tell me, in a sense, who I am.
Right.
It helps me to know who I am. And as soon as I'm disposed to the process of letting my own thinking, reasoning mind be sourced outside, not on the cushion, not in my decisions, not in my peaceful place, but in the world at large.
Right. Yeah.
And, in other words, I have a peaceful, I'm in a peaceful orb called the Son of God, no matter how it's appearing at the moment. And I go into that exposed, naked, but it has to be faith in something. If I place that faith and belief in the ego's way, then I will. The best I can hope for is that I'm Bruce Willis in Die Hard. It's like I'm going to be in a nightmare
Right.
and have to deal with the world at large.
Right.
But if I have faith that this is coming towards me as a ministration of the mind of God, it's coming to me. Me, with my particular vocabulary that was shaped, as I said, at the age of 7, that likes windmills. It's coming at me, and it will speak that language, particularly for me, but it will come through everybody, the UN and Chinese people and, the guy across the street and these people over there, the railroad tracks. All of that stuff around me will come towards me. And my peace is in the reason, in the knowledge, in faith that can become belief. And that if I rest that and I let this come towards me, a flowing, do you see how the voice of God is bouncing off my thick skull, trying to say, we are one, we are one, we are one. And I keep saying, no, you aren't, no, you aren't, no, you aren't.
Okay.
And so when I finally get, that's the lesson here.
Yeah.
It comes into me, and I go, okay, we are one. Okay, reason, yes. Okay, I can go there with reason. Then I'm given vision. I use my reason to allow that voice in. I've already placed my faith and belief, which we covered in chapter before, or the paragraph before. I go. The faith and belief comes to me, and now I say, yes. My reason tells me, man, I'm hearing the Chinese, man. I know there's words in there somewhere, but I'm not getting it. I know there's words in there somewhere. At which moment I get my Rosetta Stone to understand the Chinese, and it's like that's the vision. The vision, it's an unspoken, it's an nonverbal, it's an awareness.
Right, it's an awareness.
The veil parts.
Right.
And now I can see, yes, what have I learned? Atonement. That's all I've learned. That's the only lesson there is. There is no other lesson.
That's right.
So now, why do I go into this excited diatribe over and over again? It's because many, many times, go back to paragraph 1, perception, purpose, partnership. If I think I've got to sit my sweet ass down on a cushion and find quiet time to do A Course in Miracles, I'm wrong.
Right.
I'm just wrong. Now, I'm not saying that's not in the toolkit.
Right.
It's in the toolkit.
It isn't.
It has to be
helps.
part of the toolkit.
Yeah.
But what does that tool do?
Yeah.
That tool enables you through reason to say, it's going to come from over there. It's not. I will never be able to generate wisdom from inside of myself, according to A Course in Miracles. The only way it can come from inside myself, because it's a shadow. This is a shadow.
I know it is.
And
But
until
God doesn't leave you without it available, even in the shadow.
no, I know that the
I
God
know we
voice is
argue
within.
about
All
this.
I'm trying to say is that the Course in Miracles itself, if it has a unique, particular, idiosyncratic brilliance that I don't know that any other teaching has, it's, forced atonement. Forced. We're going for the atonement. We're not going to sit on a cushion, and we're not going to meditate. We're not going to quite find quiet realms, or we're not going to climb through Maslow's hierarchy of needs and then have the blue bindu pop out of the top of our head and merge with the universe. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to go to that stupid barking dog, that moron over there, or that lovely person over there, or that sweet dog, whatever it is. And I make peace with those things, and they flow towards me until I just go, wow, this is a bigger place than I thought it was. Like that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. I think it's good.
Okay. Go in paragraph 6.
Okay.
God's plan is simple, never circular, never self-defeating. He has no thoughts except the self-extending, and in this your will must be included. Thus, there must be a part of you that knows his will and shares it. It is not meaningful to ask if what must be is so, but it is meaningful to ask why you are unaware of what is so. For this must have an answer if the plan for God for your salvation is complete. And it must be complete, because its source knows not of incompletion. This question, the big question, big question, how come I don't have a question? That's the big question.
Yeah. How come you don't have a question? It wants you to have a question,
Right.
so that it can be answered. So it's ask the question.
But it is
Well, ask
meaningful.
why you are unaware of what is so. And that's what it's asking. Ask why. Why am I unaware of the fact that I must be one?
Yeah,
That's
right.
source.
I look at the world around me, that
Yeah.
world I'm talking about, and it's not unreasonable. I mean, according to what we've been taught, you say, I wonder where all this stuff came from. I wonder why it works this way. Isn't this something? And I go on this quest to understand. And it's saying, it is meaningful to ask why you're unaware that it is the way that it is.
And it must have an answer if the plan for God, of God for your salvation is complete. In a way, it's already done. But, we have to be aware in order to get there, that's already here. So I mean, let's go on, because it's like, ask why you're unaware of what is so. That's the thing that's going to lead us there. Where would the answer be but in the source? And where are you but there, where this same answer is? Your identity, as much a true effect of this same source as is the answer, must therefore be together and the same. So, the true effect of this same source, as is the answer, must therefore be together and the same. Oh, yes, you know this, and more than this alone. Yet any part of knowledge threatens dissociation as much as all of it, and all of it will come with any part. Here is the part you can accept. What reason points to, you can see, because the witness on its behalf are clear. Only the totally insane can disregard them, and you have gone past this. Reason is a means that serves the Holy Spirit's purpose in its own right. It is not reinterpreted and redirected from the goal of sin, as are the others, for reason is beyond the ego's range of means. So let's kind of pick this part apart. Where would the answer be but in the source? Okay.
I'm going to say one thing before you even
Okay,
start.
sure.
Hold
Go
your
ahead.
thought. Hold
Okay.
your thought. In a lot of these, I already sort of alluded to it. I look at this as, just think about the concept of Course in Miracles, this dense book, the amount of coherence in this book, and that supposedly I wasn't there. Helen Schuckman, Bill Tedford, they write this down, and then we have maybe Kenneth Wapnick guiding a certain amount of editing process, or Judith Scutch, or
I don't know
whatever.
the names.
I don't know any of these. Really, I'm not into that aspect of it. But there's a group of people, a tribe, so to speak, that this kind of comes into, in a way. And you wonder what
That
is,
allowed it to happen.
well, that it comes forward from the ethers. It has it has no particular form, but you can see the precision that manifests, and that along the way, if there's a bump or a kick, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think that some of these paragraphs and those thoughts that you just got through reading, I think are so sublime that it's very, very difficult to find accurate language to say it. That's what I think. And so that's why it's difficult to try to sort out sometimes.
Right. But that being said, language or not, once you're in it this far, so we're on chapter 21 and we're in this now, and you've actually engaged in the workbook and everything else, things are beginning to change. I mean, in the way I perceive how I go about my world, or, I don't quite look at it exactly the same.
That says that your reason is not functioning, and you can see that there's logic, reason to
Yes.
to the atonement, to
Yes.
the
And
separation
to the process
as an
that
error
it
in
is
the first
asking me
place.
to engage in with
Yeah.
my little willingness.
Yeah, we're past that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So where would the answer be but in the source? Okay, we can get that. And where are you but there? This is the reason. This is the reasoning that we're talking about. This is the reason where this same answer is. So when you have the question between reason and perception, that is the logic sequence that you ask. Where could it be but in the source? And where are you but there? So I cannot be outside the source. That's where the answer is. Your identity, as much a true effect, and it's a capitalized E, so I am a true effect of the source, of this same source, as is the answer, must therefore be together and the same. So the truth of me as the effect and the answer are the same. Oh, yes, you know this, and more than this alone. Okay? It's telling me you know it. So somewhere in me, I know that this thing that I call the effect of the source, that is the sun, is the answer. My knowing myself as a son of God, if I like knew it fully, that is the reasoning process. Yet any part of the knowledge threatens dissociation as much as all of it. So as soon as I have this kind of reasoning, which is a part of knowledge, it threatens the dissociation, the idea of separation. It threatens that thing that the ego relies on with fear and everything else. It threatens it. It wants to get it, and sometimes the ego rears its ugly head. Okay, and all of it will come with any part. So as soon as I begin to apply the reasoning that allows for a part of knowledge to re-enter into my awareness, it threatens the entire egoic structure, and it basically, you can recognize it starts to say it's false.
And this is, you remember that a few minutes ago, I said that I had this kind of melancholy or sadness, that we are not reasoning creatures, in fact. I'd say that's the reason.
And the reason, okay, explain.
That we're not reasoning creatures, because if we did, is pulling threads out of this cloak.
Yes.
And the reason will always lead to the atonement. Reason will always lead towards the happy dream new world.
Yeah, true knowledge of self.
The real world, as they say in the Course. Reason will always lead toward vision. It will always lead toward. It cannot lead towards a reinforcement of the illusion or of the separation.
Right.
And so that if you see if I see a conspicuous absence of reason, it's because it's a protective device. It's not that we can't reason. It's not that we don't have reason. It's a protective device.
Yeah, to keep my egoic world intact, so that it doesn't seem to just disintegrate.
Right.
Which it doesn't really. It just changes. Okay, in my mind. All right. And all of it will come with any part. Here is the part you can accept. Okay, that's the part I can accept. It will come with any part. So as soon as I begin to have a part of knowledge returning, a part is the same as the whole. What reason points to, you can see, because the witnesses on its behalf are clear. I'm wondering what the witnesses are.
The witnesses are this understanding of the way the sonship actually functions, about the miracle, the holy instant, the holy relationship, the idea that I'm an extended self. These reason can show me. In other words, let's take it to Chris Langan and his cognitive theoretic model of the universe. That's
he did.
Yeah, that's a reasonable structure.
Right.
It's full of reason. You can see the I in the center and these and the feedback, and we can reason our way in this realm. It's okay for us to do this, and it's a natural for us. It says we're past this now.
Right.
We don't have, nobody has to talk to us about this anymore. At this point in the book, we're done with this. In fact, the reason it's setting us up to say, but we're done with this. In other words, it says, here's the part you can accept. Well, that phrase, that structure of that phrase means, now I'm going to show you what you can't accept.
Right.
And that's why it's saying that you can accept this, because it's about to tell us in the next paragraph, I think, what you cannot accept.
Right. Yeah, it usually does do that.
But so reason can get us to this point, and it's making it clear. You can see that reason is a part of knowledge. I can understand that.
Yes, right.
Now, the thing that's funny about that, though, if we say that...
But it's saying that even yet any part of knowledge, so any part of knowledge threatens this dissociation as much as all of it. So the entire illusory world, even if I have a part of knowledge through this reasoning process of recognizing that it's impossible that God would have left me outside of himself. That's an impossibility. So knowledge is therefore available. And it threatens the whole system that is based on separation. And all of it will come with any part. So all of this knowledge will come with any part of this reasoning. Here is the part you can accept. What reason points to, you can see, because the witnesses on its behalf are clear. Only the totally insane can disregard them. And you have gone past this. Yes. Because once that kind of reasoning dawns upon the mind, you can't go back. Once you recognize, it's impossible that I could ever have been truly separate from God, God being all. That's an impossibility. I mean, you can reason your way around it. And as soon as you go, well, if that's the case, then God has got to be accessible. God is accessible right here, right now. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. It's right here, right now. So now I have to be willing. Those are the choices. The willingness is the choice. Okay, reason is a means that serves the Holy Spirit's purpose in its own right. It is not reinterpreted and redirected from the goal of sin, which is the separation, as are the others.
So this means that reason is not directed out of sin. Sin does not direct or redirect or reinterpret. Sin cannot. In other words, the sense of lack or limitation or the sense of separateness cannot direct reason like it's a tool.
Right. Yeah,
reason will always undermine sin.
Yeah.
It will always undermine.
Yeah, it will take it apart.
So there's no way
they will take its reasoning apart and it disappears.
So let's say you have a logic structure that's trying to explain I don't know, separation. And then you have a logic structure that's trying to explain unity. And you have both these things. It's saying here, my understanding is, reason will never, can never lead to absolute duality. It cannot lead to fragmentation.
Right.
So in the case of, let's say, traditional religion, you have the idea of Atma as the one unified Christ entity, and that's with a capital A. And then you have the Atma with a little a. And I have an Atma, you have an Atma, everybody's got an Atma. Like this. And the Buddhists will say there is no Atma. There's no Atma. There's no great self. There's no little self. But Buddhism maintains absolute dualism. That mind and the physical universe and the mental universe are rigidly separate as far back as you can possibly go. So it's a rigid dualism. Reason, according to what I'm understanding,
in a
reason
way,
cannot get you to an absolute dualism.
Right.
Me and God are separate. It can't get you there. So reason will never take me to, Catholicism or Christianity, because that's an absolute dualism. God's over there.
Well, I could see what the Buddhist thing means, that one does not exist because that's pure mind, which is the holistic one, and then the separated world. Well, once you see one in wholeness, in fullness, the other is not the same anymore. It's not a separated thing. It goes away. It's like
I can't get into that's a whole other esoteric
so
conversation
I could
about
see
religion.
where they would use that. At any rate, it doesn't matter.
Faith and perception and belief can be misplaced and serve the great deceiver's needs as well as truth. But reason has no place at all in madness, nor can it be adjusted to fit its end. Faith and belief are strong in madness, guiding perception toward what the mind has valued. But reason enters not at all in this, for the perception would fall away at once if reason were applied. For the perception would fall away at once if reason were applied. There is no reason in insanity, for it depends entirely on reason's absence. The ego never uses it, because it does not realize that it exists. The partially insane have access to it, and only they have need of it. Knowledge does not depend on it, and madness keeps it out. So faith and perception, as we've said before, faith and belief, faith and perception and belief, I can direct these as to the world that I want to prove, as a reflection of the self that I believe in.
Yeah.
So if I at a deep, deep level want my separation, and this, it's safe to say we're all there. It's safe to say that we're all on this side of madness. We're not quite fully insane. It says this.
Right.
We're partially nuts. But this idea that we're close to the goal and all this, just we can kind of drop that,
right,
and just say that we're only partially nuts, crazy, and that to that extent, I still like the separation, because it's here.
Right.
That's the proof. I don't need any other proof, but I can use reason to say that it's not there. But in the same way, I can use my faith, belief, and then perception to say, maybe you're wrong. Maybe you've wasted your time. Maybe you ought to go back to Zen Buddhism. Go back, get yourself a nice black cushion and do the Zen effects. Sitting there, zazen, good satsang, and a sense of wholeness in having achieved a quiet mind and all this kind of stuff. Maybe that's the better path, because it's more organized. It has a better aesthetic than the Course in Miracles. And so my reason, or not my reason will never take me there.
No.
Reason can't take me there. But my perception, belief, and faith
in it
can surely lock me back into Zazen I didn't do Zazen, but I did Buddhism.
Yeah.
Okay? But it could take me there, but it's an unreasonable or a non-reasonable process to get me there. It's a frustration. It's a turning away.
Right, but you can also, I mean, based on the prior paragraphs, and I can't remember where faith, perception, and belief were used, you can use faith, perception, and belief to reinforce the illusion, or you can use faith, perception, and belief, and the Holy Spirit will use your perception world to awaken to the truth by having faith in the Holy Spirit, by having faith that God did not place me outside of itself, by having faith. Then it allows for perception to be, my perceptual world to be used as a tool for my awakening. And that will reinforce belief in the one, versus the other way, where will reinforce my belief in separateness. That's why I take, that's the way I take that first sentence, is faith and belief, perception and belief can be misplaced and serve the great deceiver's needs as well as truth.
Yeah, sure.
So it can do one or the other. There.
Yeah, that's what I said before.
Oh,
it says, here is the part you can accept. In other words, we can reason our way towards a certain place. But even at this point, I can use this faith, perception, and belief for other goals.
Yeah.
It's still there. I can still use those, and I will get proofs for them. Perception will provide the proofs that I made the right decision to go back to Zazen. Because I like the cushion, I get to wear a kimono. I like the incense that they burn and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go on.
9.
Paragraph 9. The part of mind where reason lies was dedicated by your will in union with your fathers to the undoing of insanity. Here was the Holy Spirit's purpose accepted and accomplished both at once. Reason is alien to insanity, and those who use it have gained a means which cannot be applied to sin. Knowledge is far beyond attainment of any kind, but reason can serve to open doors you closed against it. And we covered a lot of that particular.
Okay, what do you hear? What is knowledge is beyond attainment? What do you think what does that mean?
Knowledge is far beyond attainment, and it's the same way of saying that it's not attained. It is remembered. So, like in the beginning, what did it say about love? It's not to teach you about love, but to teach you about the blocks to love.
To the awareness of love's presence.
To the awareness of love's presence. So it can't teach you love itself, because
love is beyond the means of the Course. The Course doesn't address love.
I would say that knowledge and love are the same. So knowledge is far beyond the attainment of any kind, but reason can serve to open doors you closed against it. Yeah. So that's opening the doors that are against love's awareness as well. That's how I read that.
Yeah. Okay. Read 10.
Yeah.
You have come very close to this. Faith and belief have shifted, and you have asked the question the ego will never ask. Does not your reason tell you now the question must have come from something that you do not know, but must belong to you? Faith and belief, upheld by reason, cannot fail to lead to change perception. And in this change is room made way for vision. Vision extends beyond itself, as does the purpose that it serves and all the means for its accomplishment. So you get into this moment where you say, why am I doing this? It's like, and it's not asking it like it's a dumb thing to do or I shouldn't do it. It's, why am I doing this? What led me to this point of sitting with, we call it A Course in Miracles, but it's a certain curriculum, as it said, that leads toward absolute sanity based on reason.
Yes, based on reason.
True reason. And the truth. And it's saying the knowledge is beyond, love is beyond the curriculum itself. Because we have a full share of that. There's that Hindu mantra. I may put it in the show notes. I don't really know, but it's Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Anyway, it's I know it's a lot of syllables, but it basically means that you have wholeness, and any part of wholeness is still whole.
Right. Yeah.
And that's,
it mentioned that.
yeah,
in
that's what
various-
it said.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So that's a part. That's there's a whole mantra.
Yeah.
And that's what that mantra is for. And I'm sure there's people that do that as a spiritual practice, going through it, Om Purnamada Purnam, sinking in, so that it percolate in. But as you can see, you can say the mantras, you can do the words, you can do the course, you can do these things all you want. But in the end, it's saying here, who brought you here? Mm-hmm. Now, let's play a game. Did the devil bring you here?
No.
Or did God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, who brought you here? Right here with this conversation, you and I, who brought you here?
I would only call it the one true self brought me here, which is, there's only one. So the one true self is with the Holy Spirit, is with God. I mean, it's all the same, it's all within the same self. So the one true self that is available and aware in me, even though I've been, living out my life, canceling it out many, many times. It's there. That's what brought me here. It is something that I think that anyone who's gone on these kind of paths recognizes. They call us, seekers or whatever you want to call it, recognizing that there's something beyond what this world is offering and showing me. And it seems to always be just beyond my reach, but actually it's really right there all the time. So what did you ask me again? You asked me who brought me here? Because this one that it says it must belong to you, does not your reason tell you? Now, the question must have come from something that you do not know, but must belong to you. To me, that is the one true self. Something that seems to be that I don't know, but it belongs to me. So now, through reason, it's, saying, so therefore, through reason, you must know that if it belongs to you, it's there with you. It's never left you. And in this change is room made way for vision. So once I recognize that the source that I've been seeking has never left me, that leaves room through willingness, through a wanting to participate and wanting to see another way, that vision is now made way as it becomes available.
You can't understand. The mind can't contain. You can skirt across, me anyway, speaking personally, I can skirt across it, just touch it. But when you go to the grocery store, or you go to that group meeting, or you walk down the street, or wherever it is that you go to pay your water bill, or whatever it is that you do, all of those people showed up for you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they want you to know who you are.
Yeah. Well,
that's why they showed up.
Yeah.
And because until you know who you are, they won't know what they are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the way this...
One pinpoint awakens all the other pinpoints. It's just...
That's the way this place works.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So when I say, who brought you here? It's like, okay,
all the whole sonship brought me here, in a way, then, because it's all one.
It's all about you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's all about you. Or, it's all about me. Whatever, you say it to yourself. As an example, let's say we've got half dozen, 8, maybe it seems like 10 people that regularly make comments.
Uh-huh.
So I'm including that in this arrangement that we have. It means that each individual, each one, as you are, this podcast showed up for you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The other comments showed up for you. You know, Helen Schuckman and Bill Tedford showed up for you. You know, each individual. And I can say the same thing, is that those comments coming out of like the ethers, they're there as a beckon. They say, we see what you are. When will you learn what you are so that we can become what we are? And that's what this, and it's this process of uplifting. And Jesus said it even in the gospel of, you know, they said, what is the kingdom of heaven like? And he said, it's like leavening in the dough where it goes all in and the whole thing rises at once. So it's impossible to understand. But when you go into this of who, you have to ask the question, what brought me? Who brought me? How did I get to a point of inquiry?
Yeah.
How did I get to the point of inquiry? Do you realize that not everyone on planet Earth, all of these faces out there, there's 7.5 billion of them, all of them are there celebrating your point of inquiry.
Yeah, that's how it extends. I agree.
And each one is, you know, and so that's the way it is. And you can go into each one. You know, so anyway, it's just an absolute fabulous. So, I mean, I thought about this earlier about, you know, I was talking about the zazen or the black cushion because I like the aesthetics. You know, I like, you know, a nice, you know, Japanese characters that mean peace or love or whatever. And then a black cushion, it's kind of shiny. And you sit there, you burn a nice stick of incense, really expensive, smells great. And you just kind of zone out, have a little bell, ding, you know, like this. And you do this kind of deal. And it's really, really great. I like the aesthetics. But I would say blessed or cursed, but I can forget the cursed. I'm blessed to that no matter what I do, and from here on out, I think I will be doing the Course in Miracles, no matter what I do.
Right.
Anyway, that's my thought.
Until you are the Course in Miracles. You're it. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.